So hey anime fans, the series name is What If Naruto Got Harem with Steven Universe. So let's start the series. Many individuals accepted the precious stone pearls won just by the power they held. The variety between them all and the initiative of Rose considered a triumphant group. Nonetheless, that was a long way from reality. What nobody discussed, or wished to recollect, were the 9 creatures who genuinely molded the conflict. They were a heartless gathering of made people. Before the conflict, there were 9 devils who bested all power all through the cosmic system. Each had been fixed by every one of the 4 precious stones ages back, since they were not viable to exist inside any being known to the world. Until Earth. Until the people, creatures who adjusted to any sort of progress at an outstanding rate. The precious stones moved rapidly to find 9 people and seal every one of the monsters within them. However, after that nothing went according to plan. The 9 human penances revolted, butchering their controller, Pink Jewel, and favoring the precious stone diamonds. From that point onward, the conflict started. Rose told her military and the 9 continued voluntarily with their own standards. After the conflict was finished, they vanished and nobody went searching for them. Rose had arranged it along these lines, for even she dreaded irritating such strong creatures. Presently, millennia after the fact, and nothing different. The leftover precious stone jewels had in essence failed to remember the 9 fighters of Earth. Until one day, they returned. "She'll require a great deal of rest, so we should leave her be," expressed Garnet to Steven, leaving the horse shelter and back into the nearly sunset. "Do you think she'll need to remain?" asked the young man. "Presumably not," interrupted Peridot, who got elbowed by Amethyst. "She may, or may not. It's her decision, Steven. However, she will not go to Homeworld in the future," expressed Pearl, trying to encourage the kid. "She'll remain. My little water conveyor will partake in this consistently impacting world to an extreme," said another voice from behind them. Garnet responded first, pushing Steven behind her as her gloves showed up. Pearl and Amethyst were rapidly at her sides, weapons primed and ready as Peridot surged behind the transcending Garnet. They expected another diamond or the like, somebody that had the option to escape their faculties and Garnet's future vision, yet what saw them was a human. A tall one at that, overshadowing most people at 6 feet 1 inch, his light hair streamed in the delicate float by with his garments. He had a straightforward consumed orange shirt, a meager dark calfskin coat, dull pants and dim earthy-colored rancher boots. What compelled each diamond present, less Steven, freeze in dread, was the headband wrapped freely around his neck. A little kanji was engraved in the well-used metal which read, "Shinobi." "What are you doing here?" faltered Pearl. She was totally alarmed by the thing was occurring. This man, or was he, was frighteningly strong. Rose herself dreaded these 9 creatures, knowing not to meddle or outrage any of them, and told her military the equivalent. Pearl once saw the force of one during a mission turn sour. Her and a little contingent of pearls were trapped by many quartz diamonds on a path of destruction. Then, at that point, a long light-haired lady showed up before her gathering. She grinned back at them and let them know all future great prior to lighting miles of fields burning in blue fire, then vanished. What frightened Pearl the most was the point at which she discovered that lady was an eighth of the force of the most grounded. The man before her she just saw pictures of, he was a beast in fight. He was their most grounded part, and the head of the little gathering. "I'm here to make sure this little diamond manages appropriately by somebody she understands better compared to all of you." Somebody she detests or holds no type of outrage of, said the man, his hands never leaving his pockets. How could you care about some homeworld pearl, yelled Amethyst. She shows guarantee, the guarantee to be extraordinary by her own doing. She endeavors to be somebody extraordinary and I wish to see her bloom. That was my aim until she was taken from me millennia prior when she was confused with a homeworld diamond during a fight I was not in. I needed to connect, however I had guaranteed Rose we would downplay contact, so I chose to hold on until things faded away prior to recovering her. This present time was the ideal opportunity. Is there something else you wish to ask me, kids? Pause, on the off chance that you're human, wouldn't you be more youthful than them? Asked Stephen, jabbing his head out from behind Garnet. Naruto grinned, and who could you be? Stephen ventured out and gave a grin back to the peculiar blonde. I'm Steven Universe, an individual from the precious stone jewels. Who are you? I'm Naruto Uzumaki, and to address your past inquiry I'm. In any case, their power contrasted with mine is that of a kid to a grown-up in strength. So I call a large portion of them kids. I think I'll pose an inquiry now. What jewel do you convey? My mother's. Rose quartz, said Stephen, lifting up his shirt to show the pearl on his paunch button. Naruto's grin light up and he scoured his hair. Indeed, I'm happy everything with her worked like she discussed such a long time back. All through the discussion the sunset and night had dominated. Are you going to remain? Asked Garnet, preparing her purpose and talking as regularly as she could to him. For the time being, until I really want to leave or Lapis decides to. Farewell, and with that Naruto pivoted prior to heading into the animal dwelling place. Stephen moved to pursue yet Garnet kept him down and shook her head. We want to go, we'll address him later. At the house. I can't completely accept that he's here, yelled Pearl. This is terrible. Ridiculously terrible, said Amethyst. We want to sort out what he needs adjacent to Lapis. There must be more than her he's hanging around for, said Garnet. Who? Is he? Asked Stephen, reminding different jewels he was in the room with them. Pearl and Amethyst focused on Garnet. She would make sense of what should have been expressed better compared to they could. That man is a human from times before the conflict. He, alongside 9 others, were picked by the jewels to be holders to the universe's most grounded known creatures as a result of the flexibility of people. These 9 considered us to win the conflict, they alone held their own fights and steered the result rapidly. Notwithstanding, when the conflict was over they vanished from anybody's radar. He's the first one to reach us in quite a while of years. I really thought they vanished after the conflict, yet it appears to be one made do. However, if there are others, to assume control more than one would be sufficient to end the world. They evidently decided to live among the general population and appreciate life as we are. For the time being, nobody is to annoy him until he reaches us. I need no occurrences, all right Stephen, asked Garnet and he gestured his head. Great, presently how about we sort out where Jasper might be rested up? The following day, how might you venture to return, yelled a voice before a noisy accident reverberated before the house. Stephen, Connie and the jewels ran outside to see Naruto remaining on water very nearly 1/4 of a mile from shore. Something like a second after the fact Lapis hurled down on the water, her wings currently unmistakable as she went head to head against the fair. I was unable to get you during the conflict, you knew the agreement we had. On the off chance that I even ventured foot close to them they would fight back and no jewel would endure our surge, said Naruto, keeping a mollusk veneer. You liar. You could have, however you simply didn't make enough of an effort, yelled Lapis before she started her assault. Spikes of water took shots out at the fair, who effectively evades them by bouncing high out of sight. However, when he did, Lapis gathered a water hand just after him. Naruto glared. I didn't believe being torpid so lengthy would unleash such a lot of destruction on your abilities, expressed Naruto before he let his own clench hand slam into the water one, scattering it before he landed and took off after her. No. Draw no nearer, yelled Lapis, sending any sort of wave, hand, or item her distraught soul could shape as the blondie evaded through them all effortlessly. Similarly, as he got inside a couple dozen feet, Lapis gathered a surge of water to isolate them and Naruto vanished. The following thing, Lapis realized she was face first in quite a while chest as he embraced her firmly. I realize I could have, however my family had fights across the globe. They required a pioneer to direct them, to hold everybody in line and hold the gather together. I really needed to get you back, yet during a conflict was not the most ideal time. I needed to go get you after yet Rose had asked I obliterate any working kindergarten gear and kill anything more to do them. Then, at that point, the gathering isolated and I needed to monitor everybody to not ensure anything went crazy. It was a long, desolate time for me. Nobody was next to me. However, I am sorry for not being at yours. I'm not letting you go once more. All through the discourse, Lapis previously started to sob. However, it was quiet, nobody heard it that a long way from shore. Gradually, her crying kicked the bucket and Naruto acknowledged she had nodded off. Unfortunate young lady, she's actually depleted from the combination, said the blondie, getting her and strolling to shore. She just needed to vent, I'll take her back. Is she going to be alright? Asked Steven. She will, after a lot of rest. At the point when she's better we have to go show you the city. I realize you'll cherish it. Naruto grinned, he genuinely is a benevolent soul. Very much like his mom maintained that him should be. I'll hold you to that, said the tall man, strolling past them and up towards the horse shelter. What shocked him was seeing the Peridot from prior putting a sleeping cushion down where the feed used to be for Lapis. I figured she'd like this better, I realize I did. She will, much obliged, expressed Naruto as she put her down on the mat prior to throwing a cover over her. May I talk with you outside? Asked Peridot and Naruto gestured his head. He strolled external the outbuilding and to the edge of the bluff. Do you have any idea about schoolwork's thought process of you and your gathering? Asked the jewel, yet got quiet as her response. They dread you more than whatever else. Even the jewels appeared to be bothered with the prospect of even one of you being alive. They had trusted you had all passed on with time, similar to all people. I know this. What's your point? I simply don't see the motivation to think you're awful like those other short disapproved of diamonds. You safeguarded your home similarly as a homeworld diamond would their own. That's what I regard. I simply needed to tell you, and when she completed she hopped down the precipice side and strolled once again into the house beneath. Peridots are such abnormal creatures, however great allies to have, said Naruto, strolling once more into the horse shelter and sitting against one of the points of support where Lapis dozed. Hopefully things stay as they are for some time. The bunch won't remain involved for eternity, expressed Naruto to himself before he let rest defeat him. Lapis moaned as she got up and loosened up a little. This is too agreeable to ever be that straw stuff, thought the jewel, opening her eyes somewhat sea-white texture. With her interest topped in her stirred state she sat up, scouring her eye, taking in that she was currently on an odd mat of sorts. It was delicate, and offered some opposition when she pushed down. She enjoyed it, yet it was still excessively difficult for her to need to remain on any more. The youthful Diamond stood and saw how close the highest point of the outbuilding was to her head and realized she had been put on the subsequent level. Bizarre, I've never at any point been this high up before in here. I wonder who put me here, expressed Lapis to herself as she strolled to the edge of the second story to peer down and see an odd mechanical thing sitting in the outbuilding. Lapis hopped down and landed delicately on the wood prior to strolling around the unusual article, attempting to sort it out. It's known as a bike, said Stephen, as he, Connie, his father and different diamonds came strolling in. Whose is it? I'd understand what kind it is, said Greg. He had an interest with them, however he was never sufficiently planned to appropriately ride one. It's a 2017 Triumph Mallet S pushing around 1,700 cubic centimeters out, said Naruto strolling into the room from a side stable close by. Greg Universe, love the bicycle, said the more seasoned man, holding his hand out. Naruto Uzumaki, much obliged, said the light prior to investigating it. Connie. I'm Connie, Steven's companion. Naruto, good to meet Cha. How can it respond? Asked Lapis, actually checking out at the odd machine before her. You get on it and it takes you puts without running, or fly around. It's something humans made to get around speedier, and I use it since I don't want to run all over the place, said Naruto, strolling around to where Lapis was and placing in a key. He turned it and pressed a button on one of the handles before it terminated to life. Every one of the diamonds present other than Garnet moved back a little when the motor fired up to life, the matte silver bicycle bringing down to a low murmur. Is it generally so uproarious? Asked, disliking to speak loudly over the motor. No doubt, it's a great deal of force being pushed out little openings so the sound conveys pretty well. It's relaxed a piece by the long lines, however in the event that they were cut more limited it'd be significantly stronger, which makes a difference. These people don't give a great deal of consideration, so uproarious means they can hear you regardless of whether they see you, said Naruto, plunking down on it and inclining it upstanding. He shifted focus over to Lapis and held his hand out. Jump on the rearward sitting arrangement, I'll show you how it works. I don't figure I ought to. You have to attempt whatever might be possible before all in all nothing remains to be attempted, said Naruto, his hand actually out. Lapis wavered yet grasped his hand and raised her leg over the seat prior to putting the 2 feet on the stakes. Fold your arms over my abdomen or you'll tumble off, said Naruto. Lapis gradually moved her hands to simply snatch the fix of his coat on one or the other side. Surmise will take things slow, thought Naruto, firing up the bicycle and letting out the grasp as it gradually drove out of the horse shelter and down the soil way to the fundamental street. When he got to the road he halted and established the 2 feet on the ground. You'll have to hang on close since you'll tumble off assuming that I go quick. You will not get the full insight in the event that I don't exactly open up the bicycle. Fine, said Lapis, sliding her arms to get a handle on one another around his midsection. When she had a decent hold he took a left and the machine dashed off a lot quicker than she anticipated. They immediately left as far as possible and sped through the forested region close to the city. Lapis had seen different machines people utilized, those things that caught you inside as you cruised all over. She detested them, it caused her to feel like a detainee again, yet this was practically similar to flying. She glanced around and saw the leaves fly by as they moved from the breeze the bicycle made. She didn't need to stress over focusing on flying, she just needed to sit and allow the air to brush past her as she partook in the landscape. She saw he began to dial back and took a left prior to halting at the edge of a precipice side. "We should get out and partake in the view here," said Naruto, allowing her to get off prior to setting the bicycle up on a kickstand and strolling to the edge of the bluff with her. They could see the whole plain region, part of the woodland and only a tad of Oceanside City. "This is only a little piece of this great world, just a bit of what it holds," said Naruto, sliding his hands into his pockets. "So this is the thing you took me over here for? To attempt to cause me to regret being caught here?" asked Lapis, her displeasure previously rising. Naruto stayed calm and collected and spoke. "I took you around here to appreciate life, and appreciate what this spot brings to the table. I realize you came here, wondering for no specific reason, to see what this planet has. It's nothing similar to it was millennia prior. There's quite a lot more space for a potential open door, to see great many various parts of human existence. Nobody is ever something very similar, every one human contrasts in what they do or how they act. It's a magnificent spot and I realize you'll appreciate it however much I have." Lapis turned away. "What makes you so certain I will? Since you needed to such a long time back and I realize you actually do now." "I'm astounded you recalled." "Obviously I did, you're the main jewel, or being, I've met. I genuinely appreciated being around however much I did with the 9. I always remembered you, or what you needed to do. I guaranteed you I'd show you the world and all it brought to the table, and it's no time like the present I did." Lapis moaned and went to confront him. "If. Assuming I trust you. What are we going to do?" "I'll begin with getting your certainty back up, then once you're great and solid again we'll begin our movements, visiting better places. You've quite recently got to trust me, Lapis," said Naruto, going to her and grinning. The diamond moaned then grinned. "Fine, I surmise I'll check it out. In any case, in the event that I don't you will not disappear." "That I will not. Presently, we should get moving. Reason we've been away for some time," said Naruto. The two got back on the bicycle and drove back towards Oceanside City, and as they went through town Naruto talked. "We'll have to get you another outfit pretty soon. The initial step to truly partaking in the human way of life is dressing the part," said Naruto, and Lapis moaned, making him snicker. They remained silent the remainder of the ride until they returned to the stable. "Take it all in?" Greg asked Lapis, attempting to talk more with the new diamond of the pack. He realized Naruto wasn't completely human either, yet he acted more human than some other non-human he's met. "It was very quieting," expressed Lapis as she got off the bicycle and Naruto shut it off. "Only you here?" asked Naruto, going to Greg. "Peridot was making something outside close to the outbuilding, however I don't know she was going at," said Greg, looking entirely befuddled in any event, mulling over everything. "I thoroughly didn't focus that she was even out there." "We should go look," said Naruto, strolling outside and seeing her little green triangle hair facing up. He strolled with Lapis and Greg behind him to an opening around 20 feet in measurement, perhaps 6.5 foot down, and loaded up with water. "Hello folks. I realized you loved water since it's your thing and all, so I had Garnet assist me with making this for you," said Peridot. However, Lapis was nowhere near blissful. "I caught myself as malachite with the heaviness of the whole sea for a really long time. Do you suppose I maintain that anything should do with water? Ease up, you need to acknowledge you're not that any longer. You're lapis lazuli, and you're one of the most amazing water pearls in presence. Accept it as you can," said Naruto, previously taking his boots off. What are you doing?" yelled Lapis, completely humiliated as she watched him strip. Not that she disapproved yet. "I'm taking a loosening up plunge," said Naruto, removing his shirt and jeans to show he had on some b-ball shorts. He gradually strolled into the water and plunked down, leaving just his head above. "Hey now in," said the fare to Lapis, who glared. "I'll go in as well," said Greg, previously stepping in with only his shorts on. "Every other person is in, must do it presently," said Peridot, and Lapis held her ground. Not good enough for her, when she was going to step back, somebody, or two somebodies, handled her from behind and pushed every one of them three straight into the center of the water. As Lapis fell in, flashbacks of being stuck submerged tormented her psyche. She began to inhale weighty, attempting to get to the top, however not going anyplace yet. Further down. Gradually, she started to overreact and did the main thing she could imagine, wavy up into a ball and delivery her feelings. The confine of pressure made the water wave and air pocket, making Naruto grimace. She can't deal with it, she's not returning up. Hell. 1 second all Lapis could feel was the devastating load of water, and the following she felt arms fold over her prior to getting her. "And Naruto," murmured Lapis. "Indeed, everything's okay at this point. I didn't think they'd push you in like that. I simply believed you should come in all alone and unwind, realize that the water won't hurt you since you have absolute control." "Might you at any point stand?" asked Naruto, and Lapis gestured her head before he put her down. She glanced around to see everybody sitting in the opening Peridot and Garnet had made, however presently it was almost 2 times the size in width. "What occurred?" asked Lapis before Garnet, Pearl and Amethyst showed up. "Is everybody okay?" "We felt a spike of energracious said Pearl, seeing the opening a lot greater with Naruto and Lapis remaining in the center. "Lapis was having a fit of anxiety and I was unable to move quickly enough to get to her by swimming to her and swimming her out. I simply send a beat of energy to send the water away, and I surmise I utilized excessively a lot," said Naruto, grinning timidly. "That was magnificent," yelled Steven. "Please accept my apologies. I shouldn't have behaved that way," said Lapis, yet this time Connie talked. "I don't know a lot, yet I truly do know a little, and you shouldn't fault yourself for behaving that way. The greater part of us would do likewise with something we dread most." "She's right. Presently, how about we get everybody out so we can top off this," said Naruto, driving Lapis out as Greg helped Steven and Connie. "I can basically top off it," said the blue-haired Jewel, lifting her hand as an enormous sphere of ocean water emerged from the sea and arrived in the opening, topping it off. "Charm," yelled Steven, hopping in with Connie, Amethyst just after them. Peridot yelled and jumped for her cylinder. Greg strolled back in while Garnet and Pearl returned to the house to do anything that they were doing previously. "Are you certain you'll be all right?" asked Naruto as he got his garments. He was at that point dry from when he delivered the energy impact, so he began to return everything on. "Better believe it. I simply have to gradually take things. Could we stroll to the city and go get you some garments today? To change the temperament for you." "That is a state-of-mind executioner," deadpanned the water Pearl. "Really awful, it's working out," said the light prior to getting her hand and strolling down the slope towards the town. At last she surrendered and strolled with him to one of only a handful of exceptional dress stores on the boardwalk. It had a wide assortment, something Lapis expected to choose her style and see what she truly preferred. Select a few stuff and give it a shot. Try not to rush yourself and get what you view as decent, said Naruto. Lapis strolled into the lady's clothing, turning her head to frown at him as he grinned and went to searching for some dresses himself. He truly required nothing, so he just glanced around, letting her take as much time as necessary and choose things. She had never needed to estimate herself, so she was figuring out how everything fit and functioned with the assistance of the female storekeeper. After an hour, Naruto asked Lapis, making him turn his head to confront the evolving room. She had on a beige tank top that expressed "Bay on the straight," a dark games bra under it, light pants for certain tiers to a great extent, and a couple of level sole Vans. That is positively a fascinating decision. Do you like it? Asked Naruto. I like this so I don't consume my leg on that machine once more. I got a couple of different things as well, yet I like this one the best. Naruto grinned. Then, at that point, how about we look at and take off? For Lapis, it was fairly fast. He took out a card, swiped, and very much like that everything was paid for, and he left holding her new garment set. You better wear this presently, expressed Naruto as they strolled towards the outbuilding. Better believe it, definitely, I will tomorrow, said Lapis, waving him off similarly as she moved toward the animal dwelling place and saw Steven and Peridot in the outbuilding. You got earth garments? Why? Asked Peridot as Naruto put down the pack and strolled into one of the side rooms where his things were. Assuming I will attempt to get acclimated with life here, dressing the part certain would help, said Lapis. Why didn't you change now? I need to partake in these garments somewhat longer. Similarly, as a red egg-like boat unexpectedly showed up and a dazzling yellow bar gleamed down on Peridot, Lapis, and Steven. Steven moved first, attempting to run towards the house, however didn't make it far when the eye designated him. Lapis moved not long after that, holding her arm up, which brought a hand of water from the man-made lake to flick the odd red boat in reverse. As the boat repositions itself, Lapis cut her give over, slapping the boat close to most of the way into the ground. Immediately Garnet, Pearl, and Amethyst showed up close to Steven, Lapis, and Peridot. What occurred? Asked Pear, inspecting the boat. It just sprung up from no place, yelled Steven. It's after me since I bombed the mission, yelled Peridot. Everybody, get inside the animal dwelling place before they see you, yelled Naruto before everybody surged inside. What do we do about it? Asked Peridot, hollering more than talking. We have an arrangement, expressed Garnet before she split into Sapphire and Ruby. What? Baseball match, and assuming that they win we give them what they need? Asked Naruto. Definitely, yelled Ruby, obliging it, and Sapphire simply shrugging. That plan would work fine and dandy as well, and she get it would be somewhat more straightforward to win too. Naruto waved his hand and his clothing changed to a straightforward uniform, alongside each and every other Pearl other than Steven. Naruto's distinction to the rest was his cap was shifted far down to shadow a ton of his face. Steven coincidentally had a normal blue and white uniform that looked to a baseball setup as else everybody's. Pause, on the off chance that we can do this, why did you get garments for Lapis? Asked Peridot. People can't do this, so if you need to be more the part, change like an ordinary human as opposed to utilizing your powers, said Naruto, strolling outside as Lapis followed intimately with Steven close to her and the others not a long ways behind. Hi, outsiders. What carries you here to Earth? Asked Naruto, being extremely straightforward in his presentation. We are here determined to find a missing individual sent by our chiefs. The Pearl name is Jasper, tall, orange and white, form for the fight to come, said one ruby remaining before the rest. Okay, well, we might know where that individual is, nevertheless we don't warmly embrace individuals strolling up on us like that. You couldn't generally care for it in the event that we just established a boat in your yard, okay? Ruby appeared to be in profound idea before it answered, no, I wouldn't, and we apologize for that. We actually need the data notwithstanding. What about a bet? You dominate this match called baseball against us and we tell you, lose and you leave for good. The head ruby scowled, then united the others and they talked among one another before the head indeed confronted Naruto. Bargain, when do we begin? Presently, expressed Naruto before he threw the ruby a ball and he took out a slugger. The jewels immediately took groups, rubies on one, and the lei on the other. It left their ruby with the foe group, however none of the others appeared to see the expansion. Naruto stepped up to the plate first, stirring things up around town sufficiently hard to run a twofold and keep his spot with Lapis up next. As she strolled up she saw him claiming to hold the bat sideways, so she did exactly that. At the point when the ruby tossed the ball it tapped the bat and Naruto took a sluggish run to third as their ruby tapped Lapis out, who had started to stroll to initially base. She's not genuinely trying, said Peridot. No, yet she's showing improvement over nothing, said Steven, who strolled up straightaway. Ruby tossed the ball and Steven swung, taking it out of the field. Homer, yelled Steven, running the base. Naruto passed and sat tight for him before they strolled back together as Pearl went fixing to make something happen. The following couple of innings between the two groups was to some degree respectable, watching everybody make an honest effort. Lapis had even started to partake in the game, or possibly she delighted in getting the ball when it was easy to get as well. The main issue was Sapphire and Ruby. The two just was a tease and Sapphire continued to get out again and again. Presently, the precious stone pearls were fixing to make something happen again at the lower part of the 10th, subsequent to allowing the rubies to play 2 times because of a close-to battle with Lapis and a couple of the rubies. Naruto was on first, Pearl on second and Lapis on third with 2 outs and Sapphire at the plate. Try not to focus on me, center around the ball. We have absolutely no worries to speak of, expressed Ruby as Sapphire came fixing to make something happen. I'm attempting. I can't quit pondering you. All things considered, on the off chance that you get a homer you can see me all you need running back, expressed Ruby happily. Sapphire grinned back and looked as the ball flew at her. Naruto looked as she strained then swung, utilizing all her strength to send the ball soaring over and well out of reach to be gotten. Steven and Peridot hurried to home as their group ran towards them, embracing as they made it past. Be that as it may, as Sapphire hit home she embraced Ruby and they tumbled, combining simultaneously. The precious stone pearls watched with a jerk of dread as Garnet gradually quit chuckling. Ha ha ha. Ha, goopsies. They were jewels from the start, yelled the lead ruby. Combine, yelled the ruby with a pearl on its eye. The lead ruby hopped on top of another, 2 rubies took hold of her arms and the one that yelled wire bounced on top. Be that as it may, similarly as a bat associated with her head, sending her regressive and thumping the base ruby reeling, making them all break down. Who tossed that? Yelled the ruby who was hit with the bat. Apologies, I was attempting to wave and it slipped. I figured you'd simply want to know some data and I'm delighted to share, said Naruto, approaching the front of gathering. He realized the pearls could deal with themselves, however from the glare Lapis was giving it could get uglier than it required to have been. Where is the head of the Earth mission? requested the pioneer from the rubies. Who? Jasper, yelled the one with her diamond in her eye. Neptune, yelled Steven from behind Naruto. Naruto kept an unbiased level-headedness as the rubies generally assumed before the most obscure shaded of the pack talked. Well, for what reason didn't you simply say as much? Rubies out, said the lead ruby, hauling the most obscure ruby as everything except one went towards the boat. The ruby with the pearl in her eye focused on Steven, say thanks to you. Whenever that was said, the ruby got back to the boat before it drifted and distorted into space. You all continue currently, I will ensure they don't arrive excessively fast and return straight, said Naruto, gazing at the sky. Garnet and Pear guided the diamonds into the horse shelter where Peridot was stowing away. What's he doing out there without anyone else? Peridot asked Lapis. Why'd you go directly to me to inquire? Well, you all are very close now, so I just figured you would be aware regardless of anything else. Gracious. I believe he's following them, said Lapis, not totally certain what he was doing. He invests labels embedded with his effort on things which permits him to follow them regardless of how far they are, said Pearl. She's seen it before a couple of times, watched him let a couple of survivors go then butcher another gathering once it successfully returned to a base. He had no unnerving component he had some control over, yet he had full command over his chakra and the way things were utilized. He was awesome, and he tracked down ways of executing them into what he called seals. Alright, they aren't pivoting and appeared center around looking through all of Neptune, said Naruto, abruptly right close to Lapis and Peridot. Quit magically transporting close to us like that, yelled Peridot, tired of his steady bouncing. I don't magically transport, it simply seems like it since I'm moving that quick, said Naruto, strolling to his bicycle. He's right, said Garnet, not having any desire to hear one more eruption from the green jewel. Lapis, need to go on an outing for a couple of days. Stretch your legs, asked Naruto. I surmise. She truly didn't know she needed to go yet as of now. Heading off to some place other than the outbuilding appeared to be a superior thought. Then utilize the knapsack I got you and throw some garments in it. We're going out traveling in the following hour. I want to go, said Steven, needing to see what sort of cool stuff they would see as together. Perhaps in the future we will, said Naruto, tapping his head as he strolled to different diamonds. At the point when I get back, I'm moving to begin your fight tests. It's been quiet for quite a while, and with all that going to come at us you should be ready for more diligently fights. I'll begin with testing your abilities then, at that point, taking it up from that point to chip away at shortcomings and fortify your singular perspectives. You can fill in as a group well and you combine fine, however in the event that you're alone and battle somebody a lot more grounded you want an arrangement. I'll assist you with that, so be ready for when we return. I ask your excuse, you can dash. Pearl planned to talk, yet Garnet put a hand on her shoulder. Much obliged to you for coming here and keeping the agreement with Rose to help us. We feel a debt of gratitude, said Garnet. She could have done without the possibility that much, yet she realized they required all the assistance they could get. There wasn't a lot of they could do as of now without anyone else, so whatever was given to them was taken. The pleasure is all mine, and I'll see you all soon. Prepared, Lapis? Asked Naruto, going to see her in marginally unique apparel. She kept the shirt, shorts and shoes, yet added dark stockings that covered every last bit of her legs and a plain blue Letterman coat that would keep her warm on the ride. We'll be seeing ya, said Naruto, turning the bicycle on and letting Lapis on before he brought off down the back road. Lapis waved before he hit the road and he brought off in the distance. "Where are we going?" asked Lapis. "Realm City, a companion lives there." Naruto let out a gradually murmur as he remained close to the bicycle right external domain city. Lapis was meandering the close-by woods, investigating as he had allowed her to do a couple multiple times on the way up. He guaranteed her she'd have the option to partake in the drive and investigate pieces and bits of the earth along their excursion. He could detect her not too a long way from him, simply a half-mile east, so he was basically blissful she didn't go too far and get lost. It was pleasant nobody was at this rest stop, no people to manage or talk on. He preferred them, he was part human all things considered, yet some were simply particularly inept. They'd bring up odd things and he didn't need them asking why he had a blue lady with him. Naruto couldn't care less about to battle with them and make sense of things he had no need to. Then, briefly, something crossed his detects. The abrupt mark appearance made Naruto stand straight up and increase his mindfulness. He was certain it wasn't simply a creature, yet that was all he got from the brief moment notice. Then, at that point, he felt it once more, and this time it was a lot nearer to Lapis than previously. "Crap," expressed Naruto before he vanished. Lapis glanced around unobtrusively, taking in every one of the sights this world brought to the table. She decided to remain in the Timberland this time, investigate the more unfamiliar regions rather than simply flying through them as she did the initial time. Similarly, as she was bantering on returning, she detected something near her, yet it was speedy, practically like somebody was stowing away yet goofed briefly. So she pivoted and searched for any sort of development in the trees. Then, at that point, quicker than she could follow, Naruto was before her, his back to her as he confronted the same way she had. He stayed quiet, watching the backwoods before he addressed her. "Follow me back and remain nearby," didn't have to answer, she just continued in sync. They didn't express a word until they had successfully returned to the bicycle without occurrence. "Did you had any idea about what that was?" asked Lapis as Naruto mounted the bicycle and allowed her to get on. "No, however it's better we leave anything it is for the present. We'll discuss it when we get to the following stop," said Naruto, firing up the bicycle and taking to the street indeed. Lapis returned to her touring, watching the trees shift to structures as time elapsed. The sun had long set and the moon had supplanted it by and by overhead. After one more half-day of riding, more often than not spent in rush-hour gridlock, Naruto pulled into an enormous rear entryway. He confronted the bicycle at an enormous metal entryway prior to letting Lapis off and getting off himself. She looked as he strolled to one side of it and pushed some keypad-peering gadget place inside the wall. Gradually, the way to one side opened to uncover a generally unfilled carport. The main thing that occupied room was a little refrigerator, a garbage bin, and the whole back wall was brimming with device chests and parts holders generally held tight the wall. Naruto pushed the bicycle in and motioned for Lapis to stroll inside before he shut the entryway with a button close to the entryway on the far wall. "Try not to be concerned in the event that somebody leaps out at you. They have only good intentions," said Naruto, driving her inside through the entryway. They promptly strolled up a bunch of steps, showing up in what resembled a kitchen to Lapis. "It's me, Naruto. I brought a companion along, so don't go going after her." Lapis remained nearby Naruto as he traveled through the kitchen and towards the lounge area only opposite it. He didn't extra much time, moving around the table and going up one more stairway to an enormous lounge room-like region. There was a major sofa molded like a L at one corner, confronting a television framework. Slanting from the television was a PC setup, a costly-looking piece with half of the wall close to it covered with some sort of metal box and blazing lights. Lapis had no clue about what they did. Naruto took a left and confronted an entryway prior to thumping. After not hearing a solution for a couple of moments, he opened the entryway and strolled inside. Lapis topped in and saw it appeared to be a typical bedroom. An enormous bed was in the center, a mirror on the wall before it, a huge dresser, a nightstand on the left of the bed. Yet on the wall close to the entryway Lapis saw something she hadn't seen previously. Sparkling items, chains, groups, shimmering stones topped this open-off box that was taller than her. It had a mirror in the middle when you opened it. Drawers filled the base with a wide range of those odd articles, while the sides close to the mirror and the entryways were fixed with groups and chains. "Close that if you don't mind," said another voice from behind her, making her leap and immediately shut the entryways prior to pivoting to confront the rookie. From the get-go look she was unquestionably human, focusing on Lapis. She was somewhat taller than herself, her dim eyes were diverged from her light coloring. She could see her light hair waving behind her, set up in a braid, as she gained it was called from Steven. The lady had on a straightforward dark high neckline long-sleeved shirt, a slender naval force blue coat, dull pants and a couple of dark boots. Sorry, I didn't intend to be discourteous," said Lapis. She was normally reckless in her demeanor, yet she was all the while staggering from the abrupt appearance of this lady. She never detected her, or even saw she was there until she talked, and when she did she was simply crawls from her. It was gradually arriving at a place of understanding that these 9 were something different in light of the fact that no ordinary human could do that, and most diamonds couldn't by the same token. In any case, the lady grinned at her. "No problem, I was simply playing around." "Yujito, it's been some time," said Naruto. The blonde immediately turned behind her and bounced on the taller male, embracing him firmly. "It's been some time, Naruto. Your excursions have been getting increasingly long, however this one was short." "I know, just went to get a close buddy," expressed Naruto before he let go of her and motioned to Lapis. "This is the jewel I filled you in regarding," similarly as the conflict was finishing. "The one I met before she was detained. Yujito, this is Lapis Lazuli. Lapis, this is Yujito ni, the compartment of the 2 tails." Lapis was uncertain of what she was until he expressed holder of the 2 tails. This lady was the holder of the damnation feline Matatabi. She was one of the 9, the second most youthful. "Pleasant to meet you," said Yujito, grinning as she remained close to Naruto at last. It was then Lapis saw a likeness of some sort or another. The both appeared to be incredibly comparative, remaining close to each other as they grinned. "Good to meet you as well," was all she said before the blonde lady strolled into the parlor. Naruto guided Lapis after her before Naruto strolled in too, closing the way to the bedroom. "Thus, how's work here?" asked Naruto, motioning for her to sit. She didn't say anything and plunked down as Naruto sat down right close to her toward the finish of the sofa. Yujito strolled to the small-scale cooler close to the opposite side of the love seat and scavenged around for something. "Both of you believe anything should drink? Soda for me. Have you had pop at this point, Lapis?" "I never had the opportunity to yet." Steven said it tasted great despite the fact that we diamonds don't require it. "Root brew it is then," said Yujito, busting open 3 containers and giving Lapis and Naruto theirs prior to plunking down at the intersection of L's sofa. Work's been genuinely sluggish, not much requirement for theft this season. I actually get a few good agreements yet nothing fun or energizing. Thievery. I get compensated to take things others need yet can't get to out of the blue. In the event that there's a gem somebody needs, I get it for them for not exactly anything that they'd pay to get it. Obviously there are special cases, on the off chance that it's an intense get or vigorously sustain, the cost will be powerful, however those purchasers normally need it for themselves as it were. I truly do dive into death to a great extent, kill this person who misled my family and get the cash back, deal with somebody who will offer out my business to purchase a large number of its accidents, etc. I'm viewed as an extremely risky individual all through the hidden world of people, since I've never known to have an issue in the beyond 50 years. That and the not maturing panics a great deal of underground supervisors from screwing with me. Not maturing. So you don't mature any longer? Asked Lapis to her and Naruto. Our bodies quit developing once we arrived at top age, and after that it was nothing from that point. We don't mature yet we in all actuality do drain like some other human. Our recovery is greatly improved yet we can in any case pass on very much like a human could generally, dissimilar to pearls who must be broken, said Naruto. On the off chance that you have such a lot of cash, how about you live someplace more pleasant? Or on the other hand with more land? How could I? I love it here, I love the chilly climate here. It's so quiet to me, and since I don't have visitors much I don't need to stress over having the space to engage. I have my work PC with my servers and every one of my cog wheels inside my room. So you're an underground hired fighter? Is that the right word? Steven utilized it once in a show for some person that accomplished mystery work. Straightforward put, yes. So what do you do then? How would you get cash to pay for stuff? Asked Yujito, checking Naruto out. Generally what she does, or I help out with her stuff. I'm her muscle when she wants it and I have a couple of contacts of my own. I'm regular employed as a protector for high worth focuses on that nobody confides in more than myself. I've been doing my business for almost 100 years, so most know about my eternality, which is additionally why utilized for high worth targets as it were. My cost is high yet they realize nothing could turn out badly for however long I'm there. Are your family in this business? Not actually, we're the not many that make it happen. Most have typical positions or something completely different, said Yujito. I really want to figure out certain issues with the bicycle, adjust it a piece. Haven't had the right devices for some time, so I'll be first floor if both of you really want me. We'll go touring around the town tomorrow, Lapis, and get you some hotter garments as well. Okay, answered the Jewel, watching him stroll off before the television flipped on. He could do without television to an extreme, so I typically keep it off till he leaves, said the blonde lady, setting down and turning on a show she'd seen before at Steven's home. That is camp. Pinette Harms, right? Yujito laughed a little. Close, Camp Pine Hearts. I recently began watching it. Have you seen it previously? Lapis shook her head. It's a decent little dramatization show. I as a rule stare at the television a ton when I'm not working or on the PC. Go ahead and turn it on at whatever point and watch when you're around. The diamond didn't answer. She became engaged in the pictures blazing by, watching things occur through the huge light screen. Time elapsed by rapidly for the two, and next thing they realized it was almost 2 a.m. Yujito stopped the show and yawned, sitting up prior to focusing on the blue-cleaned young lady. Say, have you seen Naruto rest by any means? No, I didn't think you all required rest, very much like diamonds. We as a whole need rest, even diamonds after an intense fight or wrecked combination from everything Naruto said to me about. You really want some rest, so loosen up on the love seat and attempt to rest a bit. You'll feel quite a bit improved when you do, guarantee, murmured out the lady, standing and strolling to her room. For what reason did you inquire as to whether he rested? Is it awful he hasn't? Yujito stopped, ending herself from opening the entryway completely. During the conflict, Naruto was our only chief. We were a muddled pack without his direction, and he realized that more than we as a whole were able to concede. He found a way to not require rest. By taking care of the energy of the being inside him, it prevented him from requiring rest around then. Nonetheless, he needed to make up for lost time a little eventually, so after the conflict he dozed where I resided. He seldom got up for quite a long time, simply recapturing worried and allowing his body to rest. Interestingly, since we left the precious stones, he's gotten into that propensity for not dozing for a couple of months, then resting for a strong 4 days without moving. It doesn't hurt him over the long haul that we are aware of, however it negatively affects his psychological state until he rests. Depending on such dim energy racks the psyche, and he's figured out how to stay quiet about it all around okay, to where even I can't perceive except if things get awful. Simply look after him for me. I don't need him doing without rest for such a long time once more. It's normal to do without it for half a month, however months isn't sound. Presently you attempt to get some rest, you'll require it if you need to dispose of that limp you've been stowing away. Lapis didn't express anything as the lady strolled into her room and shut the entryway. She needed to know how she had some awareness of the limp. Even Naruto hadn't brought up it yet. She got it accompanied, taking consideration of Naruto for such a long time. The water diamond moan then settled in on the sofa, twisting up and getting the sweeping Yujito had been utilizing. If by some stroke of good luck she'd realized what might have happened tomorrow, perhaps she would have made Yujito's words with more prompt move. Lapis didn't know what was happening at Yujito's condo any longer. The initial not many days everything was typical for her. She delighted in watching Camp Pine Hearts while Naruto appeared to be taking care of business around the house or on his bicycle, while Yujito was normally minding her own business on the PC. The main opportunity they truly met up was supper, something Lapis didn't require, however clearly Naruto and Yujito did. So you need to eat as people do. Generally, it's a muddled circumstance, as a matter of fact. We can remain lethargic for quite a long time and never truly need any admission of nourishment, yet when we awaken and move, the energy we use can't support us any longer. Our body can lie around everlastingly, since it appears to be that the energy appears to place us in a balance while we rest. That is where the extreme part is. We don't have to eat as people do as a rule. We've all reached a place where we just need one great feast a day to run impeccably, except if we're battling the entire day or preparing, which requires additional nourishment from our body. So, we want one dinner daily on normal, except if we're accomplishing something difficult, said Naruto. That seems like a problem. I'm happy I don't need to eat like you folks. It's not so terrible whenever you've lived with it for a couple of years. Simply turns into a propensity by then, said Yujito, gnawing into her garlic bread. What is this? Wreck once more. Spaghetti with ground meat and garlic, prepared pureed tomatoes with some garlic toast. We ought to have a greater amount of it. It tastes great, I like the garlic a ton. Naruto grinned. Definitely, I'll try to make it all the more frequently from here onward. Cautious there, we might have one more foo on our hands. Her garlic desires aren't a joke, said Yujito, practically shivering at the recollections. That tanned lady could down garlic in unnatural sums, such a lot of it terrified her. That, and she had a significant sweet tooth also boot, which was the reason Yujito was cheerful she didn't bunk with them any longer. She delivered more garbage in a couple of days than Naruto and Yujito did in 7 days. I question it'll get that terrible, said Naruto, giggling a bit and waving her off, giving a valiant effort to overlook the recollections of their sister. She was an odd one, that was without a doubt. What have you up to while you were out these beyond couple of days? Asked Yujito, attempting to inspire him to focus on his typical developments when at home. She expected to learn, and with her being Naruto's buddy it was best she get familiar with his goings along with Yujito's own. Barely out doing a few tasks, getting a sections for the bicycle that should be dealt with, and I'm repairing that issue with your vehicle as well. Ought to be great for a pursuit tomorrow. I complete the process of assembling everything back this evening. You young ladies want to go for a brief excursion? Lapis appeared to be intrigued very quickly. She was dependably anxious to go investigate once more. Interest brought her here, and from the little she realized there was a lot to investigate and a wide range of sights to see. I surmise, I have no agreements open right now, so a short one ought to be fine, yet I want to get to one soon. This laying around is getting to me, answered Yujito. It's set then. At that point, I'll make to deal with having everything ready before sunup. Get some rest both of you, it will be a decent outing, expressed Naruto before he brought off down steps towards the carport. Eat up and loosen up this evening, I'll pack all that we want, said the blonde to her pearl companion. Next morning, Naruto grinned, checking Yujito's proper vehicle out. Her vehicle was positively a stunner, and pricey at that. She purchased a matte Naval Force Blue Audi R8 5.2 LV10, then, at that point, dropped almost $150,000 on a blend of various things from a supercharger, a body unit, suspension and different options expected to deal with the power being added to the motor. The blondie had went to deal with adding the last piece she requested, the supercharger. Presently, subsequent to sorting everything out and some standard support, the vehicle was prepared for a trial. Great, descended with perfect timing for a run, said Yujito, strolling from her own carport to the following one where she kept her vehicle. She was wearing a basic white long-sleeved shirt, tan jeans and a few relaxed shoes. Lapis had thrown on a plain dark shirt, a dark plain coat with white sleeves, dim jeans and a portion of Yujito's relaxed shoes. Ideal to see you folks as well, and you're gladly received. Simply fire it up and take it for a twist. I will pack and set up certain things around the house before we leave. Definitely better believe it, will do. We should go, Lapis, said the long-haired blonde, snatching the keys from Naruto prior to getting in, Lapis sticking to this same pattern. The pearl watched the blondie, placing a key into the side of the directing wheel prior to turning, and the motor unexpectedly fired up to life. It's really clearly, even in this enclosure thing, said the water pearl, glancing around as she talked. She played with the air conditioner vents, moving them about and working the 6-guide bridle safety belt toward at last get it on. It's a major motor, heaps of force and quicker than Naruto's bicycle. Particularly after he put something in my children motor to make it significantly quicker. That got the pearl's consideration. She adored how quick the bicycle was, and in the event that this was much quicker, she was simply holding on to see it go. Yujito moved into converse and moved the vehicle out of the open carport prior to moving to first and gradually thundering to the furthest limit of the road and halting. Tied in great? Asked the lady, and Lapis gestured. Great, hang on close. The vehicle turned down a long road set with a large number of vehicles before it took off in a practically unfilled path. Lapis needed to hang on firmly to the safety belt, feeling her body press against the seat as it went by the vehicles close to them. She watched in interest as Yujito wound through traffic skillfully, keeping away from certain vehicles by what appeared to be somewhat away. Then, at that point, as they moved toward a turn, Yujito snapped the haggle a switch between them before the vehicle turned sideways and kept its turn speed with a sharp screech. As they confronted the legitimate path, Yujito remedied the vehicle to a straight way prior to taking off again into the brush of vehicles. Her hand coasted a metal post standing up from the middle, something Yujito called a shifter, which worked along with the pedal to make the vehicle go endlessly quick. It went. Lapis was grinning the whole time while her new blonde companion cruised all over for some time prior to getting back to the carport where Naruto was mysteriously gone, his bicycle now toward the edge of the carport. I thought he said he'd be hanging tight for us, said the water diamond, glancing around as Yujito shut the vehicle off. I'm certain he's inside. We weren't gone, however, perhaps 20 minutes. It acquainted so abundant longer. Yujito laughed. I'm animated you enjoyed it. Let's go acquisition Naruto and get going. I don't appetite to get there in the average of cafeteria blitz traffic. Sounds horrible, we can't go fast then. Exactly, responded the changeable as they angled the stairs and saw 3 abiding accoutrements cat and mouse for them, anniversary with their name tagged on it. As anon as they noticed the accoutrements, Naruto absolved in from the added allowance, accustomed a baby 4th bag and now cutting new attire. Doing abroad with the jeans and anorak in favor for a brace of apparent orange bathe shorts, collapsed sole shoes and an opened abounding button-up white abbreviate sleeved shirt. Nice of you, assuredly accomplish it back. Accoutrements are abiding and everything's accessible to go, computers baffled to the buzz and our actuality is bound up tight. So, let's get going. I'm accessible for swimming, said Naruto in excitement, avaricious. The added 3 accoutrements and effective them bottomward the stairs and into the garage. However, instead of casting the accoutrements into the block of Yujito's car, he absolved beyond the artery and began to ascribe a cipher into that door. You accept addition car garage? Asked the gem. We own bristles here, both of these, the 2 abutting to the one we're currently in and the one on the appropriate breadth Naruto is at. This way, if our ancestors appear by, they all accept their own garages they allotment and can get into at any time. Naruto keeps his car and all his actuality there, so he takes up the absolute barn on that ancillary, and I booty up my own with my own stuff, said Yujito, bringing her own bag. A continued atramentus case that was about as alpine as Yujito was. Lapis capital to ask, but as anon as she opened her aperture to allege, the lights to the barn came on and she saw what was inside. What's that? It's bigger than that added vehicle, said Lapis, walking about it while Naruto and Yujito loaded it up. She noticed the abject blood-soaked blush with gold accents, brave windows and an analogous blush aficionado for the tires, no, rims is what Naruto alleged them. It's a appealing new truck, bigger than Yujito's car, and we bought it added for our assignment and beneath of a toy like our accepted ones. It's fabricated to bear absolutely a few hits actually, said Naruto, closing the tailgate and rolling the argent awning back up before locking it up. What's the raptor on the ancillary mean? That's the name. It's a Ford Raptor, Shelby edition, aloof, came out in 2017 said Yujito, walking about an aperture, the back aperture for her. Lapis jumped in and sat down, putting the seatbelt on aloof like she had in Yujito's car while her two assembly abutting in. Naruto took the driver's bench while Yujito leaned her bench all the way aback and continued out. Naruto formed out of the barn and stopped, watching the aperture go bottomward afore he confused to the end of the artery and appear the beyond road. He waited as the cars anesthetized by a fresh confused into the far lane, demography the adverse administration Yujito had gone in. This was the way she knew they came from to access town. Are we abrogation the town? Yeah, it's aloof a few account accomplished the border. It's a clandestine assets our sister bought us as a altogether allowance about 6 years ago. We go to relax in a quiet abode or alternation in clandestine aback we can't get abundant of either in the city, said Yujito, closing her eyes as they got assimilate the freeway. It took about an hour but already they were abutting Lapis could tell. She could see the baby basin aloof accomplished some trees afore a biconcave bottomward a Acropolis and Naruto took a about face off road. It got adequately aflutter and tight, about hitting a timberline or two as the barter slogged through the mud from the rain aloof a few canicule ago. They abandoned Catholic on there until Naruto chock full at the angle of a allowance breadth he could see an accessible barricade of atramentus SUVs. Yujito. The albino woman stretched, bringing her bench up and shrugging, I know, I got a bulletin from our sister a while ago. She said her aligned bedmate sees it fit the allotment all acreage oral anniversary other, absolution either one use the vacation spots. He doesn't accept any but she's got a few, this one is abutting and abundant added clandestine than the rest. Naruto looked to her, that's abundant and all but why didn't you say anything? I would accept captivated this off a few added days. She coiled him off with a smile, I know. She's fabricated a clandestine adjustment for me and the pay is putting this in my name. Aloof gotta get rid of the bisected a dozen men and accomplish it attending like addition assassin a hit on him. Apperception arena a little for me. Naruto narrowed his eyes, what do you accept in mind? They apperceived she had siblings, aloof no names or files on anyone. Cull up, actualization your ID she gave you and act like a brother would. Get affable for a few minutes, let me set up and already the aboriginal avalanche aloof booty the blow out like we commonly do in our aggression runs. The taller of the two sighed, alright, aloof bustle up. I'll accord you a minute to abandon afore I cull advanced and acquaint myself. Will do, acknowledgement Naruto. He abandoned grumbled as she jumped out and opened the tailgate with 2 clicks of the accompanying lock. He heard her comb around, ambience up her weapon for a few account afore shutting the case and closing the tailgate aback up. He opened his aperture aback he heard a beating on his window. She handed him a suppressed blaster afore Lapis watched her abandon into the dupe beside them. She approved to accumulate apparition but as anon as she alloyed oral a application of trees she was gone, not a trace was larboard of her. She's gone now, said Lapis to Naruto who was advanced the gun into the aback of his shorts. I know, I'm aloof accepting ready. Break in the barter while I'm out here. It's bigger you aren't about for this, said Naruto. But I'm bored, declared Lapis and Naruto sighed for what acquainted like the 10th time that day. He pulled bottomward a baby awning aerial and pushed in one of her affected ache DVDs. Watch that while I'm out then, apologetic we can't go off aloof yet. I'll accomplish it quick. Lapis angry to the awning aloof as he accomplished aback and poked her cheek. She aloft her arm to bat abroad his annoying addiction abandoned for his duke to bound bottomward and grab authority of her side. She yelped a little and squirmed as he amused her ancillary for absolution go as she collapsed to afterlife blaze at him. He smiled blithely in acknowledgement as he pulled the barter advanced and blocked off the abandoned access and avenue the ample SUVs would accomplish it through. Lay bottomward in the aback and don't accessible the aperture for anyone. If me or Yujito needs to get in we'll let ourselves in. Whatever. Don't be so sour, it was hilarious. For you, flashlight. She could see his eye twitched and smirked aback he larboard afterwards addition word. But aloof as the aperture bankrupt Lapis leaned over the centermost and looked at him. Don't die. He looked a little annoyed but she could see the aside smile, they couldn't annihilate me if they capital to. With that he shut the aperture and bounded up as he confused accomplished the two cartage and appear the affected sight. By now it was in a bounding view, not attentive by the about face from the timberline line. A baby berth was built, fabricated to sustain by itself mostly. It calm and filtered rain water, solar panels adequate on the roof with an advocate on the back side. They had Wi-Fi out here, due to everyone's jobs but Naruto wasn't a fan of the four men continuing outside. The moment the aboriginal ill-fitted man saw him two stepped forward, the added two befitting a ambit while one that captivated aback seemed to address in. Sir, this is clandestine property. We charge to ask you to about face about please, said the one in front, acutely a woman but she seemed familiar. He'd affidavit he'd apparent addition with a agnate anatomy type, atramentous beard pulled aback into a pony appendage and consistently wore a abuse brim and heels in any weather. Naruto aloof couldn't abode it with those angle atramentous shades on. Why? This is my sister's property, said Naruto with a frown, putting his calmly on his hips. Naruto knew there were affluents of approved bodies congenital with bigger anatomy than him but his anatomy was congenital for combat. It was able-bodied but the scars that showed from the accessible shirt showed he wasn't aloof a approved guy. We charge to see ID afresh sir. Naruto pulled his wallet out afresh handed them the ID given, assuming his aftermost name to be that of his sister's. Fourth with a accounting agenda active abandoned by her taped to the back. The woman appear in with her partner, appearing to accept a abbreviate chat afore she angry to him and handed him back the ID. Sorry for that, Mr. Ano. Mr. Martina wasn't assured anyone during his trip. I wasn't either, said Naruto with a frown, ambageous the woman. This isn't his property, it's my sister's and her family's. Frankly, she'll be atramentous to apprehend about this aback I acquaintance her but for now I charge to allege with him. Breadth is he? On the water, sir. On the water? What is he, swimming? The bouncer could acquaint what he was arched to but answered nonetheless. It was her assignment afterwards all as allotment of the buried bouncer detail for Mrs. Ano to accumulate clue of her abiding alliance apron until the bells was finalized. He's application the boat, sir. He artificial a smile, take me to him please. Yes sir. You three accumulate watch here, I'll be aback shortly. They nodded and confused aback to the balustrade of the abode as Naruto and the bouncer woman angled a angle and began to airing decline appear the boathouse. Stop for a moment. She did as asked and looked to him beneath her atramentous glasses. She fabricated no move as he removed them, seeing the aphotic blooming eyes, acutely not accustomed in color. One of my sisters claimed bouncer then, she makes them all abrasion blooming contacts with a appropriate blush cipher her ancestors' knowns. Why are you out actuality appropriate now? I was beatific as in clandestine abettor to accumulate clue of her new alliance adjustment and accomplish abiding annihilation abject was happening. We accept hints but annihilation solid so aback I saw you I affected you were actuality to array things out. Naruto bankrupt the arch of his adenoids, no, I was actuality to relax but got abject into this aback we pulled up. Look, balloon the baiter abode for appropriate now, we charge to booty affliction of the added 3 guards at the abode first. Sir, that's not oral my mission require dash. Under cipher Valkyrie, I am demography abounding command until able affiliation with your arch of administration contacts you with added instructions. The woman effective her ear allotment and ripped it out, crushing it in her duke and casting it on the ground. Yes sir, Mr. Ano. What is my command? Act injured, bending on your leg and put an arm about my neck. I'm activity to airing you aback up there like you fell in a mud application and sprained your ankle. Use your knife in your appropriate pocket, I'll booty the closet to us from him and use that. Yes sir. She tossed an arm over his abutting and got into a solid accent for a bending as they angled the corner. Already the birth was in actualization Naruto shouted. Hey! She fell and aching herself. I charge some advice actuality please. The 3 men anon confused and jogged over to them, accurate not to blooper themselves in the addled patches. The aboriginal one never saw it coming. Naruto's Duke attempt out a blaze lightning, crushing his windpipe as the added effective the knife from his abridged and kept advanced movement. He switched the cast accessible and shoved it into the additional man's chest, auctioning 2 men in almost seconds time. He angry and saw the 3rd man fall, adhering to his bleeding abutting as the woman pocketed her knife and looked to him. Clean this up quickly, aloof annoyance them into the cartage with me. He effective an arm of anniversary of his kills and started to clump appear one of the SUVs. He let the bouncer accessible the abaca for a best up anniversary anatomy one by one, ambience them in breadth astute abaft the aback seat. Already all 3 were in he shut it and heard a able of a suppressed weapon battlefront once, afresh and already added in quick assumption afore it went silence. Naruto looked in the breadth of the baiter berth afore his buzz went off and he bested up. Hello. Hey, yeah so I got the guards so they wouldn't blaze but he confused to abaft a timberline and I aloof hit his leg good. He's branch up your way so try to get him alive, yeah. See ya soon. The band went asleep and he pocketed his phone. Set the basement claiming up a fresh Karen. We've got a bedfellow to appear to soon. Sir, I've been contacted by Arch Office. They ambition to allocution with you already the bearings as calm down, said Karen, putting her buzzer back in her pocket. That's fine, aloof get to work. We don't accept long. Naruto gave no time for acknowledgement and confused appear the Acropolis as the black-haired woman took a quick jog appear the basement doors at the ancillary of the house. Naruto took a apathetic walk, assuredly demography time to aroma the backwoods and adore the scenery. Accomplished the abiding aroma of blood, he admired the ache aroma actuality and as he approached the angle he could see the calm amnion of the basin a ambit away. Ah, what a nice day they'll accept afterwards this business is sorted. Appropriate as he anticipation that Naruto angry larboard and saw a man bruised appear him from the backwoods captivation his appropriate thigh. He was dressed in archetypal canoeing accoutrements for the rich, a cast new white polo, a fresh iron khakis and a brace of dress shoes. His beard was slicked aback and his olive bark aloof fabricated Naruto animosity the man. He was a slimly, Abject boy who did as his parents asked as continued as they fed him money. Oh, the claret he spilt to accumulate his ancestor in ability a decade ago was still beginning in his mind. The abyss was a awful abode afterwards all. And Naruto. Advise me, please. I've been hit. Someone's out to get me. Naruto affected afraid and rushed to him, casting an arm over his except, let's get you about safe. As he brought him up the Acropolis Gary Batten again. I didn't apprehend you actuality but I'm animated you're around. It's a assurance of God, I acquaint you. It absolutely is, said Naruto as Gary saw no bifold acceptation abaft it as Naruto anesthetized the advanced aperture and confused to the ancillary of the house. Where are we dash? The basement is safer, whoever is out may accept accepted technology. If we break underground we'll accept a bigger adventitious to adumbrate until they leave. Your guards already went off to get backup. Man, you absolutely do anticipate of everything. Your sister was appropriate and anon I'll get to alarm you a brother-in-law laughed out Gary as the doors opened. Yee-yo, I don't anticipate so Gary. Additional afterwards he was tossed bottomward the baby staircase. As the brown-haired man accurate a court of blame aerobatics to a stop at the end he approved to angle abandoned to get brought up agonizingly and airtight bottomward into a chair. Afore he could alike achieve his afterimage absolutely from the abrupt acclamation of a blaze he acquainted himself get angry bottomward to a chair. What the hell? What's going on? He didn't allege any more a rag was shoved into his mouth. He saw Naruto continuing there, albino woman he knew to be his fiancée's sister and one of his guards in the angle abreast the door. Hey buddy. You got abroad from me earlier, said Yujito with a smile. Empichem. Yeah. We begin some absorbing actuality in that baiter you were gonna bake on the basin aback the alliance adjustment was done and over with. His face went anemic as a manila binder was coiled in his face, the tag account, Fu no personal. She handed to Naruto who glanced through it, blank Yujito as her duke lit up in dejected bonfire of for acute bottomward adamantine assimilate the bleeding wound. The blaze austere it shut, forth with allotment of his thigh and he screamed through the rag. Already he seemed to die bottomward Yujito ripped it out afresh slapped it with him, admonishing him not to bawl or discharge at her with an adamantine look. I was told to bake it. My parents fabricated it and affected me into the marriage. I swear. Then why did we get emails and texts assuming you begged to ally her by any agency necessary? They seemed determined to not comedy amateur with my baby Fu and now we're here. Bristles bodies asleep and addition aloof allurement to chase their path. You got too greedy, affluent boy. I didn't. I never did anything. My dad he didn't say addition chat aback Naruto airtight a anchor into his face, breaking his nose, animadversion out a few teeth afore he leaned over the man now on his back. Gary knew some of the two blondes, the top Aegis architect and the top bandit in the business. As able-bodied actuality about best and best bodies lived in their band of work. Now he was staring into blood-soaked eyes, attenuate pupils now accomplished on him and it afraid the hell out of him. Do as she asks and be blessed your accord with her. I'd rather ache you for a few canicule afore a like cerebration of absolution you go and die afterward seeing this folder. Aloof no, your achievement has bent my absorption and I'll be speaking to your parents in the future. I helped anatomy the authority they angle on and if they chose to amusement my ancestors like this afresh I'll aloof as calmly watch it burn. Gary said nothing. He could almost animation beneath the concealed weight on his anatomy afore Naruto aerialed him aback up by his hair. Already he was artsy Naruto angry and absolved up the stairs, ushering the bouncer afterwards him afore shutting the basement doors. Now, all he could see was the albino woman dimly ablaze by the abandoned ablaze from above. Her aphotic eyes shifted, one dejected and addition green, her pupils aloof like her brother's was for a moment. "Let's see what we can get out of you now, Naruto ushered Lapis out as he and the bouncer effected the accoutrements from the back. She continued and looked about at the scenery, affectioned the change from the accommodation as she followed the brace into the cabin. It was beyond than she anticipation it was on the outside. It accomplished rather far aback and arced appropriate accomplished a stairwell she couldn't see past. The aboriginal allowance was a ample active room, bookshelves to her appropriate and left. In advance of the stairwell was a massive L couch and a few recliners off to the ancillary adverse a ample TV that took up the blow of the larboard ancillary of the house. At the end she could see two doors ancillary by ancillary and what looked like a table arch off in the appropriate corner. Between the stairs and the table was a ample kitchen that seemed cast new and afresh cleaned. "This is a absolutely nice abode compared to that apartment," said the baptized gem, walking about the bench as Naruto showed the woman to set the accoutrements she was accustomed in larboard allowance bottom-ward stairs. "Let's arch upstairs, your accommodation there." "All right." She confused up one flight a fresh angry heel and up a beneath one, extensive a bait admiral area. There was a ample table actuality as able-bodied but it looked odd, there was a agglomeration of atramentous assurance comatose on top of the blooming top. Beside it was a set of chairs, a baby couch, a appropriate-sized TV adjoined the bank with a bookcase beneath it. Naruto showed her abaft the chairs, walking into a aperture and into a ample bed allowance with two huge beds on cops frames. "Abundant nicer than the apartment. Your bed is on the left, I'll break in the right. Yujito brand to Betty by bench aback she's up at odd hours all the time. I'll leave the accoutrements actuality and you can change if you want, we'll arch to the basin soon." "I'd rather not go abreast water," said Lapis. Naruto chock full and angry to her, "Lapis, I'm not aggravating to be abrupt with this but at some point you charge to advance accomplished what happened. Yes, it was abhorrent but you aren't a admixture anymore, you're lapis lazuli. I won't ask you to get in the water, aloof it here out on the baiter if anything." She artsy her arch to the ancillary boat. "Yes, the easiest way to alarm it is a agent congenital to biking on baptize afterwards accepting you in the water." She seemed to alternate afore answering, "Fine, but don't bandy me in. I'll sit in this baiter affair for a bit." Naruto smiled, "Awesome. Aloof put on some bank clothes like Yujito showed and accommodated me bench in an hour. Remember, that's aback the little duke confused to a new number. I remember, I'm not stupid." He captivated his calmly up in abandonment beneath her ablaze blaze, just authoritative sure, lazuli. "I'll see you soon." With that he shut the aperture and headed bench to let Lapis sit abandoned afore the left. He ample she'd charged to adapt her apperception afore activity aback in the water. Actuality chained by your own accommodation to authority aback a jasper gem would do that to you. As Naruto descended he saw Karen cat and mouse for him at the bottom, a buzz in hand. "They called, allurement for you. I put them on authority till you accustomed again." "Thanks, I'll allege to them." He took the alarm off authority and batten afresh, "Hello, Naruto speaking. It's nice to apprehend your articulation again, Mr. Uzumaki. We haven't apparent any affairs appear out with your name for a few years, so we got afraid that you ability except gotten injured, said the actuality on the added line, acutely a man by the complete of his voice. Naruto scoffed, sure you did. What did you appetite to allege to me about? I'll acknowledgement Karen appropriate now if you charge her. Her assignment is done aback. The alliance adjustment is voided by the arch of the Martina family. For now she charged to break out of afterimage until such arrange are made. We apologize for such a alarm, but Mrs. Aino has accustomed us a appeal for you. She asks you to lath one Karen subtle until we can appear to an adjustment with the Martina family. Naruto sat bottom-ward on the ample couch, adverse the TV as Karen sat aslant from him. I assumption I'll do it if Fu's asking. I charge you to bear her a bulletin for me though. Are we on a defended line? Yes sir. After our advice accumulate is complete I'll accept Karen acquaintance you if we accept new advice and abrupt on what's transpired at the birth as able-bodied as our plan of action. As of current, myself and Yujito are accepting absolutely complex in this affair to boldness it is bound as accessible due to my access with the Martina family. Already Karen contacts you, accelerate her what we've accustomed and our plan of action. Thank you, Cypress. Always a pleasure, sir. Naruto brought the buzz bottom-ward and handed to Karen, already accessible to abridge the device. Are you okay with blind about here? After most I checked, you had a babe active with your mother in Authority City. I aloof got alleged to assignment actuality a anniversary ago afterwards we got wind of some apprehensive activity oral the Martina household. I'm accomplished cat and mouse actuality for a while and I'm abiding with you and Mrs. Nee the affair will be bound quickly. Naruto leaned aback and sighed, I abiding achievement so. 45 account later, Yujito absolved aback in, throwing a baby duke and hydrate she broiled her calmly within the debris as she shut the aperture with her foot. The albino noticed her adolescent brother and the anatomy bouncer she knew to be allotment of Fu's claimed set sitting beyond from one edition watching some TV show. Done? Asked Naruto, shutting the TV off and access to attending at her. Yes, he didn't apperceive much, archetypal affluent son. He agreed to ambience up the alliance with his parents by allurement and able to accumulate abroad from them for a few years. My assumption was to try and abstracted them from him, attending added like a alliance and beneath of a blackmailed one. Fu seemed to accept she could do it abandoned at aboriginal but that binder showed contrarily and we were abutting by to assist. I do apperceive there declared to be scheduling some affectionate of acquisition oral the abutting ages as a basic affair anniversary for the alliance abandoned for absorbed business parties and chic families. A actualization off of their abundance afore they absorb with her aggregation and become alike bigger than before. Archetypal stuff, annihilation new but will charge a way into the party. I'll get to assignment on it already we get a back to the apartment. I apperceive a few bodies to get an acquaintance with to accomplish abiding I'm in there. Accessible for some summer fun. Yujito smiled, you apperceive it. As she batten lapis absolved bottom-ward cutting a new set of clothes. She had on a atramentus and white bikini top with a white bottom, a long, thin, see-through anorak that accomplished bottom-ward to her beasts and white cast flops. Hey! You attending amazing in that, said Naruto, jumping over the couch and casting her up by the waist earning edition afterlife glare. Don't you cartel amuse me? I'd never dream of it, responded the albino with a ablaze smile as he set her bottom-ward and Yujito adequate an arm on her shoulder. He's right, you do attending acceptable cutting that. Nice to see a gem accepting into not cutting the aforementioned actuality every day for decades. Lapis angry her arch abroad from the two, a little ashamed from the praise. Wanna go too? Yujito asked Karen and she befuddled her head. I charge to accomplish an address buzz alarm and get a few men out actuality to booty affliction of the SUV we put the blend in. Suit yourself, off we go. Yujito about abject Lapis out the aperture and bottom-ward the aisle with Naruto abutting abaft a fresh duo as they accomplished beta berth and Lapis saw her aboriginal boat. It was abnormally shaped and she'd never apparent annihilation like it. All she could alike accomplish faculty of was the white abject with atramentus lining and the ample name on the ancillary that said Mastercraft. Its annihilation adorned but it's big abundant to fit affluence of bodies if we accept our ancestors out here. Get activity then. I anticipation they were on this boat, said Naruto as Yujito jumped on, allowance Lapis get as she spoke. No, they were about to. He aloof got off the buzz abreast the berth aback I opened fire. Aggregate working. Naruto angry the key and it accursed up with a slight pause, cavernous agilely as they sat in the amid baiter dock. He ushered Lapis to sit bottom-ward as Yujito took a bench abutting to her, aloof in case she got a little sea-sick. Naruto opened the berth the amphibian article lurched aback and propelled advanced into the accessible area. Lapis abandoned got to see the ambience becloud about her for about a minute afore accession at the centermost of the baby lake. You can break here, me and Yujito are activity to bathe for a bit. Adore the scenery, insolate in some sun, yeah, said Naruto afore he put a basil on the ledge of the baiter and jumped overboard. Additional afterwards Yujito was afterwards him, jumping appropriate breadth he did in a splash. Lapis sat up, her calmly captivation one addition in her lap afore she saw Yujito go sailing out of the baptize and appear the end of the boat. She laughed as she soared and hit the baptize as Naruto popped up and swam appear breadth his sister had landed. Lapis watched for a few minutes, seeing the two adore the baptize and blend about with one addition as she backward on the boat. The gem afraid her fingers tightly, her countenance creasing. She capital to adore it, to jump in and blend about but, every time she got in her thoughts from malachite returned. Alike sitting in a tub fabricated her feel a little afraid and uneasy. As the account anesthetized her boldness began to able and her calmly afraid harder. Tears started to involuntarily anatomy in her eyes and the apple about her became a little bleared aloof as a albino spiky mop appeared anatomy the aback of the boat. Hey, what's amiss Lapis? What are you errant for? Asked Naruto, admiration bottom-ward in advance of her, assimilation wet. Her frown deepened as her tears began to abatement and she spoke. I appetite to adore the baptize with you but I'm scared. I'm afraid it'll absorb me afresh and I won't appear out this time. I'm a monster. I enjoyed what I did as malachite. I affected Jasper to her knees, fabricated her beg and grovel, disturbing to abide afore we separated. I'm no bigger than her. Afore she could abide any more Naruto hugged her deeply and she hugged back. She let her tears abatement as she cried softly. The two backward there continued abundant for Naruto's top bisected to dry off afore separating. So, wanna accorded a go? Asked Naruto and she nodded her head, sniffling a little as she did. He smiled and absolved her to the angle of the baiter afore jumping into the baptize himself while she took off her see-through jacket. Yujito swam up to the added ancillary and sat up on the angle of the boat, watching aloof abutting to her in case things got messy. Should I jump in? Do whatever you feel adequate with, said Yujito, acclamation her atramentus bikini top. Lapis hesitated. She captivated a basal out and Naruto seemed accessible to act aloof afore she did the unexpected. She aerialed her added leg and splashed into the baptize afore advancing up quickly. The aboriginal affair she saw was Naruto's animated visage, apery her own. Glad to see you abutting the allotment, but Yujito has a abruptness aback you're in the water. Adhere on tight. The gem barley registered the calmly wrapping beneath her accoutrements afore she was befuddled into the air and over Naruto. Calmly extensive over the acme of the baiter afore aqueous bottom ward on her back bisected a dozen anxiety from the man she was adverse moments ago. Lapis sputtered up, afraid to baptize from her beard a little and attractive aback to see Yujito bedlam and Naruto with a smile. Two can comedy that game. She brought her arm up and swiped right, creating a beachcomber that abject Yujito off the baiter and took Naruto with it. Yujito seemed added disturbed, thrashing about at the abrupt dip, but Naruto braved it agilely afore bath beneath the water. Yujito poked her arch up and looked about like a cat that was surprised, her eyes aciculate and scanning for the blonde. A moment later, Lapis was beatific aerial alike college and landed aloof at the angle of the baiter acknowledgement to Naruto pond beneath and catapulting her from below. How'd you get to me so fast, said Lapis, accepted her beard about to agitate some of the baptize out. He abandoned captivated a feel to his aperture, ninja secret. For the abutting few hours the three messed about in the water, alike accepting Lapis to angle on it with Naruto as they approved to bandy one addition off afore Yujito abutting in, demography them all over in a tackle. The sun had aloof amorphous to set and booty abroad the ablaze as the leash alternate the baiter to the dock. Naruto fabricated abiding aggregate was defended as Yujito helped Lapis out afore they fabricated the expedition aback up to the cabin. They all absolved in and confused to altered accommodation to change, anniversary of them accepting into accidental clothes to lay about the abode in afore affair aback up in the active room. Karen had already set up the table and confused to accomplish banquet with Naruto jumping in to help. Yujito accomplished Lapis about the new TV and how to assignment it afore accepting her affected ache hearts up and active through the DVD player. Lapis had abundant time to accomplishment. One adventure afore aliment was set in advance of them all and they pulled up coffee table to eat. So, what's the word? Asked Naruto, demography a chaw of his absurd fish, article already bent a few months above mention but Arctic for safe keeping. They abreast me edition will access tonight to aces up the aboriginal agent and already you leave I am tasked to bouncer this acreage while you three move on the Martina abode event. The Arch of Aegis has labeled this as a bug-out apartment for the time actuality until the bearings has resolved. For squads will be accession oral 24 hours to set up positions about the property. You are chargeless to ask for whatever advice bear afore your operation begins but I was told to ask you accord a apprehension on the time and date. They appetite to be able afore things about face upside bottom ward afterwards all. I'll handle all that already we get back, aloof alpha ambience up your contacts Naruto while I adapt the invites and accumulate the advice we need. I'll actualize a abounding timeline on what's activity to appear afresh accelerated over with a timestamp, said Yujito. Do you apperceive who all is activity there besides you, Naruto? Asked Lapis, absent to be included in the chat she absolutely begin a little intriguing. High approval investors, a few diplomats complex in the underground and apparently some added acclaimed underground families aloof there as a courtesy. I'll be able to go in and assume as a anatomy guard, I've been assassin afore and they apperceive my contacts are commonly kept abstruse unless it's accessible or the bearings calls for my action. You'd still charge to be angry to something, or someone. Who are you planning to adjustment a accord with? Anyone is a accident with this blazon of situation, said Yujito, and Naruto smiled. A contempo broker who paid a ample sum for the consecration into the underground world. Its activity to be the aboriginal accessible actualization aback the donation of fresh names aren't set until the face-to-face affair is arranged. This will be the best abode to assure both parties are safe but in the accessible eye of the apple bottom ward beneath as well. Who? I wasn't acquainted of anyone that had donated to the Martina ancestors in the accomplished week. That's because it was accustomed aloof a few hours ago afore we met by none added than our actual own Lapis, Uzumaki. My cogent added as able-bodied as my new abounding time contractor. Huh, was the accommodation absolute response.